So Nuno was graduated from this school also some years ago. Well,
Yeah,
a lot of years ago.
many years ago.
Many years ago. And Nuno has also food engineering, and he has a lot of experience in food retail, namely in operations, in commercial area, and also in e-commerce.
Yeah.
So thank you, Nuno, for being here, and I will
Okay.
let you
Yeah.
do the
So,
rest. Okay.
Eunice, thanks a lot. So, as Eunice very gently said, I'm an alumni of this school. In fact, I'm a double alumni because I have the degree. I have a bachelor's degree for food engineering, and then I did my MBA also over here at Católica. So it's I'm a loyal customer of the school. My career. So first of all, apologies for my delay. Apologies also because I have a huge goal today, so I'll not be as sharp as I would usually be, but I'll do my best. I've developed my career mainly connected to retail. Most of the time, I work in operations in food retail. I did other things also in the business, not only the operations in a store level. And in the last 6 years, I've moved to consulting at UI as shown. I'm a proud UIer, and also over there, I've been working mainly with clients from consumer products and retail, also sometimes related to e-commerce. So it is something that I've been following since then. Um, what we'll do today? So I'll give you a broad sense of the challenges of the retail business. It is important for anyone that wants to understand more any issue, any vertical of retail, to have also an overview of what are the challenges of retail, which is particularly important today, as I'll talk when I get over there. I'll talk quite a lot about AI because it's something that is really reshaping the industry, and it is last year when we did this class, I talked about AI at the end. Now I'll talk at the beginning, because everything that we'll talk afterwards, it is important for you guys to have the viewpoint of how AI will shape everything. And it is really like that, it's shaping everything. Then we'll go into what are some business models, operational business models, operating models of e-commerce. And then we'll go through a list of issues and questions that, if you want to address how to set up an e-commerce business, that you need to know about them. Some of them may look like they are not related to supply chain or operations in e-commerce, but almost anything that you do in e-commerce has some impact in operations. So it's important, even if we are talking about taxes, it's important to be aware of those issues when we design an operation. And last but not least, we will have a really short overview on sustainability. So that's the program. And now for the next, how much time?
It's 3 hours.
3 hours, exactly. For the next 3 hours, you'll have to endure with me. Please ask any questions whenever you want. It is much less boring that we do it like this than and there are no weird or awkward questions at all. Sorry. So I love retail. I truly love retail. Um, uh, I've uh, I've been overseeing well, not a very big project, but a significant project in a Portuguese international retailer that started this August, and it was really a lot of fun. It's still ongoing, and we will be ongoing for the near future. And it was a lot of fun to understand how well I felt in a store. Not in the viewpoint of a client. Of course, I visit, like any of you, visit stores or do online shopping many times, but to be in the professional way in a store. And I truly love retail, and I believe, as I think that almost any retailer also believes, that it is in the point of sale that everything comes together and everything really makes sense. And it is important when we talk about operations in retail to have that viewpoint. Nothing there is nothing that you don't choose to do in the designing of a supply chain or an operational model that will not have impact in the selling experience to the client or the buying experience of the client. So it is important to have this viewpoint. I, I really love these two photos. The first one was taken in a Walmart in Canada many years ago. For my first time, I visited my in-laws in Canada, and it shows it was around, well, almost 20 years now that I cannot resist to take pictures whenever I visit the store. And the second one, it was in a refugee camp in Kenya, and it shows that, okay, the roof is made of plywood and some plastics, but as you can see, there isn't that much difference in terms of the merchandise between the two, and that's really the sense of retail. We If the client it is happy and if their needs are fulfilled, don't be fooled by the apparent sophistication of some things that are done, because the point it is to serve well clients always. We are truly in a pivotal moment in retail worldwide, and for many different reasons, and many of them they have a huge impact in terms of how we design operations. The first one, which is something that we hear in the news but don't really give a lot of attention to it, but it has huge implications, which is the issue of volume. Volume in developed markets is dropping significantly because the populations are shrinking, they are aging also, and both things have impacts in volumes. And this is really important for operations because of the scale to which you design the operation. So there will be companies, large and small, doesn't matter, that today they have operation that in the future will be oversized. And they need to understand how to optimize it. There are things that there will be over there to optimize it, but it is important to have that overview. And this is particularly important because retail, it's one of the few businesses that is supposed for you to always work on overcapacity. Never, ever, never design an operation for retail uh, just as it should be. Always design it in overcapacity. Why? Because there is this saying between retailers, that a sale that you don't do today, you'll never do it again. So never miss a sale, ever. Of course, don't overshoot it, naturally, but don't adjust it too much. Have some leadway over there for not losing sales. Secondly, margins. Margins are dropping significantly, mainly because of two reasons. First reason, which is the one that we mostly see in the news, which is the cost of work has been rising because of the shortage of supply, let's say. And work is a very significant factor in terms of retail operations. The second one, it is not very much seen, and it is why I'm talking about sustainability at the end, which is the cost of raw materials are spiking. And in fact, spiking is not the correct word. They are reaching a new plateau. So there is a shortage of many different raw materials for very different reasons. Sometimes it is because there are more people consuming the same products worldwide. For example, a good case of it is milk. If you go back 40 years, Chinese would not consume milk. Today they consume a lot of milk. So, and there aren't that many more cows in the world, so that's a problem. But there are also environmental reasons. For example, I don't know if you are aware of the price of coffee or the price of chocolate. It has prices that never in history, because of environmental reasons. Coffee is because of droughts, mainly in Central America, and chocolate is because also of climate change in Western Africa. So margins are growing, and if are growing, sorry, margins are shrinking, and it is from the margins that you need to pay the operations. So it's doesn't grow out of the ground. So it is important to understand that there is less money to pay for what you design.
This is European trends,
It's
worldwide.
worldwide. It's really worldwide. It's the price in coffee, the retail price in coffee in Portugal in the last year rose by around 30%. And what the producers say is that it is not, even that is not sufficient to pay for the actual growth of the raw materials. So it's a really big problem. Channels. There is we would say some years ago that we must sell anytime, anywhere, to anyone. Nowadays, what I can tell you is that really clients, they don't care. So sell me how you are able to, or I'll buy it from someone else. And so it is really, really important, the choice that you make on what channels you are using to sell to your clients. And when I mean channels, I don't only in e-commerce. I'm not only talking about the interfaces. I'm also talking on the physical medium that then afterwards that you are using to sell to your clients. And of course, the more complex an operation is, it will be more costly. Not more costly because you have more things to do, but just because it is more costly to operate it, to manage it. Management has a cost. It is very, very important never to forget that. Right? So, marketing, because of your generation, and it is real like this, because of your generation, we are living in a marketing overdrive. So,
They are
uh,
guilty.
yes, they are
Yeah.
completely guilty. And I'm completely guilty because it was not happening when we only had the millennials to annoy us. Um, uh, when today I'm talking to clients on how to transform their marketing operations, I'm not talking about that to them on how to, instead of doing 10 campaigns per month, to start doing 20 or 30. No, no, I'm talking to them, how can you do 100 or 1,000 or 10,000 campaigns per month? Because we really are all in an overdrive in terms of marketing. Of course, this raises costs and also raises a huge challenge for supply chain, which is you need to be a lot faster to respond to the market. So if something it is working now, you need to reply it immediately. In next tomorrow will be too late. I know I'm exaggerating over here, but it is really like this. I'll go into innovation afterwards when I talk at AI. Capital investment. Two different things are happening over here, which is important if you want to go into retail to be aware of them. There hasn't been so little money invested in startups in e-commerce as in the last 20 years, mainly because investors, they are extremely cautious today on the next big thing, and also because most of the money is going into the basic development of AI. The second thing is that on the normal business, there have been a lot of M&As worldwide. So there is a lot of consolidation because you might not view it like this, but retail and also e-commerce, it's a very, very atomized business. We see Amazon as the big thing worldwide, or Walmart, but in fact, when we go and see the market share that they have worldwide, it's quite small. It's not that relevant. McDonald's has more market share probably in hospitality. So, but there has been a lot of consolidation over here. Last, but not least, I'll go afterwards also when I reach the AI part on the supply chain. But AI really is starting to have a significant impact on how we design our supply chains. The level of optimization and the detail that we are able to go today in analyzing really huge sets of data, it's unprecedented anytime. Having said all of this, e-commerce in food retail is still quite not that relevant. It's nevertheless it's a lot of money that's over there. It's $396 billion. worldwide, which for grocery, so food e-commerce, not e-commerce as an whole. If we put over here, of course, all the non-food stuff, basically it will multiply by 10.
What is the weight of food e-commerce compared
So
in e-commerce?
it's like less than 5%, 2-3%. So it's really very small. And but there is always a but. It is growing. It was expected, and you see over here between 2023 and 2024. So what happens that after the pandemic, there was a plateau on the growth of e-commerce, but it is ramping up again. And not wanting to say always the same thing over and over and over and over again, but AI has a lot to do on this. And why? Because we are living also a significant change in the way how we search. And I didn't brought the number because I wasn't able to catch the source of the, well, I heard it from the economists. I think it is correct, but I wasn't able to hear the source itself. That around 20% of searches that will end up in a purchase, in e-commerce purchase, are now driven by AI tools. So probably some of you have already heard of a thing which is SEO. So how we put together our
Have you heard about this SEO?
search engine optimization. So search engine optimization is a thing that exists since Google exists, which how do you design your online content so that it will pop up more times when you are searching. Nowadays, we don't talk about SEO, or we still talk about SEO, but we talk more and more about agentic ASO, agentic search optimization. So what, and this is something that we are doing for that client that I was talking about. So what we do, we design the pages so that not search engines, but agents, AI agents, are able to read it better, so that when I ask ChatGPT or Gemini or Copilot or Perplexity, whatever, and I ask where can I buy cucumbers, it will tell me, oh, you can buy cucumbers over here, and the price is it's this one. So AI, it's starting to have a significant impact in the growth of e-commerce once again, because not only because of this, but because also it's removing attrition from the buying experience. It's not clear yet what is the correct level of attrition removal that we should do. It is shown that if you automatize too much, it's not good, by the way. But there is a certain level of optimization that or attrition removal that we should use AI to do. In the last year or so, two things have been happening in these two fields, which are relevant for operations design for e-commerce. First one is social commerce. Social commerce has been booming since the pandemic. So after 20 years, not some 15 years of a false promise coming from Facebook, another one, that the future would be social commerce. I wouldn't say that the future is social commerce. I don't go that far at all. But for sure, social commerce has an important role in the way that we buy online. And why is this important? Because when you have a social commerce experience, usually you design the selling experience and the offer for a very short range of products, a very focused offer. So and the operation should reflect that. So people are not expecting a complex process of paying, being able to buy 20 items at a time when they are doing things through WhatsApp or Instagram or wherever, or TikTok, wherever. So it's a very, 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 very focused thing.
So, but maybe we don't use a lot social commerce, but to use to be influenced for
No,
what
no,
we are
no,
going to buy.
no, no, no. We are using it more and more,
More and more.
more and more. The scale of sales that are done
By
through
Facebook,
social media, it's growing quite significantly. Again, because of you guys. It is what it is. Last but not least, quick commerce. So quick commerce, Ubers, Glovos, well, those things. Okay. Two important things have been happening. They are here to stay. But it is a business model that has huge problems in most countries. Most countries, you don't have the sufficient margin to sustain adequately this type of service, unless clients are willing to pay a significant premium for the service, because it is really extremely expensive to do quick commerce.
that includes Portugal also.
Yes. If you go into food, if you go into meals, is not that big problem. Why? Because when you are selling restaurant meals, and this is important, restaurant meals, two things are happening. So first, the margin, it is extremely high compared with the groceries. So we are talking about in a meal a margin around 40%, something like that. In a well managed business, important to say. But if you go to groceries, you go to 5-6%. I'm not talking about fresh, I'm talking about normal groceries, diapers. Everyone says, oh, quick commerce, let's buy diapers. Great, it's really one of those things that you should not sell through quick commerce because the margin is really bad. Okay? So that's the first thing. So in meals, we are talking about a much higher margin. The second thing, it has to do to the operating model of a restaurant. And I mean a regular restaurant. I'm not talking about a dark kitchen.
You know what is dark kitchen? No? Dark kitchen is a place where you have like a restaurant, but it doesn't have it's not open to the customers. So it's just a closed kitchen, a takeaway, not takeaway.
No, it's not a takeaway.
It's not a takeaway.
It's not a
You
takeaway.
don't know that that kitchen exists. For example, you can imagine, I'm using that with
Yeah.
one of the clients. Imagine that you are buying to McDonald's, and you can have a dark kitchen. Yes, but imagine that McDonald's has a dark kitchen that you don't know that exists, but when you ask to have a meal from McDonald's, it can come from there. Okay, so you have no customers, you have nothing.
Yeah.
It's just a closed kitchen, and there are a lot of restaurants and chains of restaurants that nowadays
Yeah.
are doing this. Yes. No, 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 no.
No.
It's because it's directly to the consumer. So you are at home. Imagine that, for example, I don't want to talk about brands, but there are, for example, a brand that it's Maikai. It's for couples, salmon coffees and things like that. Like they also have a store that you can go to into Uber or Glovo, and you can ask a meal from Maikai. And you don't know that they have a kitchen in Andes, and it's a dark kitchen, so you don't know that exists, but your meal can come from there. So it's direct to consumer. It's not B2B. It's direct to consumer.
Yeah.
Yes, it's part of the
Yeah.
company.
Yes, there are also that. There is also that. Yes, correct.
Let me see. What are you talking about?
Nós temos lojas físicas, mas uma fábrica em Gaia. Mas a fábrica te mandamos diretamente para a fábrica.
Para o cliente final.
Para o cliente final.
É isso. So it's the same.
Os gajos do Barito vão à fábrica buscar.
But the customer, the customer doesn't know that it comes from the factory. He thinks that it's come from one of the stores. Okay? Why this is? Because they don't want to have the entropy. I think it's because of this of open operation with customers.
Yes. So, for example, an example on why this type of operation will be cheaper than a normal restaurant. In many restaurants today, you see the kitchen. If you see the kitchen, you need to not only in procedures, in the operating procedures, but also in the fit out of the kitchen. You have to take some consideration that clients are seeing the kitchen. Of course, in a dark kitchen, there aren't that many worries about that, so it is a cheaper way to operate. But there is one huge but, and that's the problem with quick commerce, which is in a normal restaurant, what you are selling for deliveries, it is your excess capacity. In a dark kitchen, you are selling the entire capacity, so it is advisable that you sell everything. In the restaurant, in fact, you'll have a higher margin than a normal sale. Why? Because you don't have to wash the dishes, you don't have the payment. It is usually less risky, so the cost of the payment will be lower. There are no weird things about the money, and and also you don't have to have the cost, so much cost with waiters. That usually it's one of the most expensive stuff in a restaurant are the waiters. Not really the people in the kitchen. That, of course, most of us, we think about the chefs, but most of the people that are in the kitchen are not the chefs, and the other ones are much cheaper than the chefs.
No, maybe you can explain us, because I know that some years ago we have also had the same concept for dark stores.
Yes.
Do we use that?
Yes, I'm going on dark stores, and I'll tell you the real story why the dark stores are called dark stores when we get over there. So, as I told you, this thing is here to stay. I brought this info on the ride hailing. So this is not the food deliveries. The important thing to say. This is not the food deliveries. This is the non-food services of Uber and Bolt and things like that. But it is important to understand that many times Uber Eats uses the overcapacity of Uber to enable its operation. So if Uber is growing, probably there will be some moments of the day that there will be more available capacity to do the deliveries for Uber Eats, which of course will lower the cost because it is already paid. So what you are having marginal gains in a stable cost, which of course it is good. So many things are happening over here. I'm not going to go dive. I'll dive deep in this. It's just important to understand for you guys that you always need to be aware of four significant forces that impact whenever you are doing a business, which is the compliance, the operation, the strategy, and the finance. And there are many risks over all of this. I was probably some years ago, I would say that compliance was a very stable thing. Well, not anymore. So lots of problems of here, and for example, financial constraints. A year ago, they weren't that a huge worry, but nowadays, namely because of the tariffs and things like that, the cost of money has been growing quite a lot. Two last things to close this part. So the first thing, and this is a really monumental change in how to establish an e-commerce business. Nowadays, most of the e-commerce stores that you see are done through low-code platforms. For example, Shopify. It's not the only one, of course, but well, it's the biggest one in the low-code area. And this is happening because of the following reasons. So most companies realized that what they need in an e-commerce experience for their customers, it's not that complex. So you are not selling 200,000 different products, and you don't need to have an extremely complex way of showing your products with 3D stuff and weird things like that. So most of things are sold in a very plain, simple way, and using the local platforms, it's a very economical choice. This is relevant when you set up a business because it will shift costs that usually will be applied in the development of the interfaces. Now it is freer, but there is always a but. These types of platforms, they are more rigid in the way that they are set up, so less options, and you need to design the operation considering those limitations. Okay. Last slide over here. You guys. So the last shifting thing on this section of the class, it is really the impact of Gen Zs. And this is important because Gen Zs, it's happening two things with Gen Zs. First, you are starting to having your own money. So you are going from consumers to buyers. And that's really important. It's very different being a consumer or being a buyer. Of course, you have been influencing shopping for a long time, for a decade and a half or 2 decades already. But another total different thing is you have your own money, you make your own decisions. The second thing is that you buy in a different way. So, and I'll point out to these 4 bars over here that really show the difference. So if you look over here, the percentage of the brand loyalists, it's quite stable between the 4 generations. But it is very stable because of very different reasons. And the biggest difference is between the baby boomers and the Gen Zs, there where you see the baby boomers are what they are called the brand agnostics. So, okay, as long as the product is good, I'll buy it from anywhere. Uh, um, uh, um, I I forgot the damn. What is Lidl and Aldi? Thank you very much. So discounters, they grew on this. They grew because of this. Because baby boomers were agnostic on brands. Our generation, we are slightly less agnostic, but still quite agnostic. But you guys are not agnostic at all. So you like brands, but you change a lot. So it is really important how you design your offer, and supply chain and operations is a key aspect of any e-commerce business offer. It is in many times it is as important as the product itself, because most of the experience it is realized by the customer when things physically happened, that everything goes as expected. Uh, you are much less tolerant to surprises and to mishappenings than we are. So be aware of yourselves. So, questions before I move into AI? No questions? Either I was really successful or not successful at all.
Not even comments?
Very well. So AI. You probably already seen this or something like this. So for those of you that might not have seen it yet, first thing, AI is not a new thing. It has been over here for the last 8 years. I know, boring. But the first paper that talks about neural networks is from 1947. Yes, that long. So AI has been around for a long time. And in fact, AI, one of the areas that AI has been more used in commercial companies, it's 2 things with huge impact in retail, which is how to personalize an experience for a customer and to optimize operations, namely logistics or supply chain. Delivery routing has been done with AI for, I don't know, 20 years or more than 20 years. We didn't call it AI, but it was AI. So it was basically machine learning algorithms that we were using to do this. Nevertheless, in 2022, everything changed effectively when the first commercial available GPT was launched by OpenAI. And this really provoked a significant change on how we do everything. We are living today the year of the agents. We'll talk a little bit more about agents afterwards. And the next frontier, it is the physical AI. So that's where we are moving. The dark things that we were talking a little bit a while ago, it will have a huge transformation in the near future because of the physical AI. being retail a business that is done for customers, and if you don't have customers in retail, well, you don't have a business. It is important to understand how do we as customers view AI, and surprisingly or not, it depends on who you are asking. I would say not surprisingly, we don't mind AI. In fact, we even like it because we realize that it will help us. And this is not really a new thing. Of course, there are two main conceptual implications of this. The first one, it is the issue of privacy. The second one, it is the issue of our proficiency in executing certain tasks, us as humans. And a good example on how we are really lazy, we all are extremely lazy, is who over here knows how to read a map? I mean a physical map. Okay? 4. No. If I gave you now a map, would you be so proficient in getting the how to reach another place compared with your phone?
Yes. Without GPS.
Of course, there will be some.
No, but even without idea.
I'm sure of it. There is always some. There is always someone that retains that capability. But around 15 years ago, we gave up those capabilities because it's much easier. How many phone numbers do you know by heart? How many? 2 or 3? 2? How many phone numbers you know by heart? Well, not counting your own. I know one, my wife's. That really, it's the only one besides mine that I know by heart. It's my wife's. No other. I don't know any other phone number because, well, I said I don't need it. Well, same thing is happening nowadays in the purchasing using AI. There is a lot of debate on on one thing is that at until what end we will be willing to give up our involvement. It's not an issue of control. Our involvement in the execution of our shopping. And by the way, in my firm, we debated quite a lot. I'm one of those that believes that we will not give up most of the control because we like shopping. And I use as a parallel to that, it hasn't been new, the attempts by the e-commerce companies to automatize our shopping. 15 years ago, Amazon was most than able to predict very accurately everything that you would be going to buy. But they didn't do it. And they didn't do it not because they were not able to do it, because you wouldn't like it. But the issue over here is that it's not that one. It is we like more technology in our experiences. And we are willing to receive AI into this. Okay? I've been working the last 2 years in a project in an important Portuguese retailer, not the other, not e-commerce one, another one, related to customer care. And we have been replacing the existing, steadily replacing the existing human workforce. Sorry, the human workforce for non-human agents. So human agents for non-human agents. I have many problems how to call those things. And it has been a really interesting learning experience, the whole thing. Namely, what is the level of disguising that those things are not human? And what we realize that the sweet spot is we say that they are not human, but we don't make them perfect. So there is a certain level of imperfection that is important to maintain over there. We don't relate very well to perfect experiences. I know it's weird.
So we like to use technology,
Yes.
but we also like to think that it's not just technology.
Yes, and we like it to be honest with us. So if it is technology, we want it to be to know that it is technology. In luxury, there is in one of the first industries that embraced the use of non-human agents to do customer care. It was the private banking industry. It was really one of the first ones, and it's happening. A really interesting thing is that they are rolling back the use of AI in the first line contact with clients. In the second line, it's AI all over the place. Okay, everything is AI in the back, but in the front, they are really rolling back AI for the really premium customers, because customers, they like it real, they don't like it perfect. So, and they know that the humans will be less reliable than the non-humans. Nevertheless, they prefer the non-humans. Well, I don't know how to figure that out. It's just the way it is. Okay. Last year I presented a graph like this one. It is not the same graph. It is different than the last year. So this is an update version. And these are the use cases that are used in digital businesses more today, where AI is being used. No surprises, but I really on what's over here. So price optimization, inventory management, so personalize that. So it's really good sense things. But the important thing is to understand why these cases and not others. The issue is scale. It is always scale. AI, but get this in your heads. This is, if there is one thing that you need to get in your heads today, it is this one. AI is not cheap. AI is expensive. I'm not talking about you guys using OpenAI or whatever to do few things. No, that's of course is cheap. But to do AI in scale, it is expensive. It is really expensive. It is expensive because the computational resources are expensive. It is expensive because the people that know how to manage this are expensive. It is expensive because it's for now, it is an extremely inefficient learning curve. So it is expensive. So it is better to use it in use cases that have scale. In things that you'll do 1,000 times, 10,000 times, 1,000,000 times, even better. So the bigger the scale, the less expensive it is. The marginal cost will for sure drop. Okay. So scale, it is don't, oh, let's put AI in everything. No, bad idea. Really bad idea. I'll give you a very straightforward example. So with a consumer products client, we have been working with them for the last year and a half, helping them to improve their margins. And we have been working different dimensions in their business model. Two of them, it's price and promotion. They are, in fact, it's one dimension. But well, they still see it as two. In the last 2.5 years, I've been saying, no, it's the same thing, but I've not been effective so far. And why AI is not good for everything? So, as you probably have seen but not realized, consumer producers, they don't do linear promotions. So, for example, I'll have many promotions at €1 and 95. I'll have many other promotions at €2.05. But nothing over here, right? So I don't have promotions on €1.96, €1.97, €1.98, and so on. If I use an advanced AI algorithm to understand behavior over here, it will tell me that the expected behavior will be like this. Correct? Which, of course, is nonsense. Because if I do a promotion over here, the most likely point will be somewhere over here, correct? So it is better to use a linear regression and not AI. So don't use AI for everything. Be critical on that. We use AI and we banged our heads against the wall really strongly. Not pleasant experience. So, the other graph, and this is important if you are moving into this sort of issues, wherever you are, is where things are used and where is the perception that things should be used. Because the level of expertise and know-how around AI is so low today that there is a huge gap between these two things. And so the other thing is where AI is being used, actually. And this is the perception, where should we use AI to improve our businesses? And what says that we should be in performance enhancement of products, in optimizing operations. Good. In freeing up workers to be creative by automating tasks. So there is some alignment, but the first one, it is not for sure the best use case for now. When I talk to clients on how to use AI to improve productivity and effectiveness in office tasks or knowledge tasks, most of them, I'll use AI to help me do dashboards. Wrong answer. How many times do you do a dashboard?
One.
Exactly. So should you use AI to design it? No. So go after something that you have to do many times over. Okay. So, but nevertheless, where is AI using over here? For sure, in enhancing the user experience. Many of those low-code platforms already have this embedded in their standard features nowadays, which is great. Nevertheless, there is a lot of learning in how to use those features because there is very little knowledge on how the damn things behave. It's really annoying. Building brand reputation, that comes a lot through exploding your capacity to communicate with customers, and also helping to speed up the learning on how to a new business should be explored. Okay. So all of these things, where do we see that this will go to? A lot in hyper personalization. This hasn't gone further because of our limitations, not because of limitations of the machines. It is not. Whenever I'm talking many times with not whenever, but most of the times when I'm talking with customers and say, hey, why don't you do 10,000 different campaigns? And they are not even able to understand what that means. The scale is so different that it is unthinkable. So we really have a huge leap still to overcome over here. Conversational AI, that's well, I would say that is a given, but it is not a given for most of the organizations. And the recommendation I'll give you is that try to see it as marginal improvement. And again, this is operations. If you have a cheaper way to do something, do it when the marginal cost it is lower. And you should do it because at least you'll be learning a new way of doing things, even if the scale is very, 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 very small. AI is starting to be used a lot in conversational contexts. For example, in service desks, internal service desks of companies. Why? Because the usually to develop to resolve a situation with another employee, it takes a lot of time. So the cost of resolving that case can be extremely expensive compared with the actual value of the problem many times. So even if there is an effort of doing something new, the marginal cost that you have, the improvement of marginal cost that you'll have for replacing humans for non-humans in these situations, even if it is not perfect, the benefit will be over there. Okay, so go always after these sorts of things. So I'll just point to this one, the issue of smart inventory and demand forecasting. This is extremely important. It is usually how do you say quebra in English? I forgot. Shrinking. Thank you. Shrinking. Shrinking is one of the hugest causes of margin depletion in any retailer. And AI can really help you to improve this. And why? Because you'll be able to do forecasting at a level that you were not you would not be able to do it until now. Basically, it's that. It's this one. In this process over here, one day happened a really funny story, which was we were in the steering meeting, and the steering is led. The project is so important for the client that it is led by the CEO, the steering committee, and he asked, "Oh, could you calculate this price on that product in that type of store for that client?" And our analyst was over there, and he said, "Yeah, sure." And the thing took around a minute and a half to do the calculation. And the CEO said, "Oh, that's not that fast." Well, and the analyst said, "Well, it used 2 billion data points to do the calculation."
You remember that I spoke in last class that forecasting is one of the basics of the supply chain management. It's really very important and very complex. So without machines, it's really very difficult to do that.
So I'll pass this
Are you
one.
going to die here?
No, not yet. Customer service. I didn't show you the experience part, but I'll dive in this one because this is operations. This is customer care. It is operations. It's one of the most costly and most important part of any operation of e-commerce that you might have. This to do this well, it will cost you a lot of money. So it is important to understand how we can use AI to do this. Personalization of services, for sure, it is difficult to do it, by the way. Product recommendation, yes,
Can you
it
give
is.
an example of the first one? For example,
Yes, I can. So, for example, if I'm a client that, so you know that in customer care you have one thing which is inbound and outbound calls. So inbound is when I have a complaint. Okay, so I'll call the retailer. Outbound is, for example, push sales. Hey, I have a new rate for your electricity. Outbound. If I know that someone will go or has just bought a computer and hasn't bought the the insurance at the store, I can call him and tell him, okay, are you really sure that you don't want to buy the insurance? Why AI really is a shift changer over here, because usually the margin related, so the efficiency of this process is very low. So the rate of success when you do this outbound communication, it is quite low. So to be able to do it in a profitable way, you have to lower costs as much as possible. That's where AI enters.
for example, the continent cards can also be an example of that when you are doing promotions for each customer.
Yes. Yeah, I probably I will
And
put
also
the
you
yeah.
can have a promotion different from Almeida, for example.
Yeah.
And it's done by like this.
Yeah, I probably put more on product recommendation, which is extremely complex to do, by the way, not because it is not possible to do it, but because the level of knowledge that we have on what are products is very low. The level of product content that we usually have, it's very poor. It's not very detailed, and these models, they don't work very well with poor data models. That's really annoying. Collecting feedback and product reviews, which is really, really important. Again, it's the same thing that I talked about over here. It is, again, a process with a very low efficiency ratio. So you need to lower the cost of it as much as possible so that you are able to grow it in scale. But of course, the biggest use it's in real-time interactions, and especially real-time interactions in resolving the understanding of the request of customers, which is really it's what we perceive that is the biggest difference between us and machines. It's how we are able to understand each other. Let me disappoint you because they are better than us, by the way. in that client that I was talking about, we have been able. So one of the use cases that we do over there, it is the use case of understanding call intent. So whenever I call them, to understand what is the request. The success rate for humans, it was around 98, 90%, 97%, something like that. With our models, we are able to reach 95% of success. So 95% of the times, the model is able to understand what is the intent of the call in the first 3 tries. After 3 tries, it will push the call to a human assistant. So it's really significant. It is really, really significant. What is what is the biggest? What are the biggest barriers to do this well? 2, and operations comes again into this. The first one is it's over here. It's hidden over here. So collecting customer key metrics. So we need to design our operations and our processes so that they are in itself engines of creating knowledge. So every interaction, every step that anyone or whoever takes, it must be a step to collect information. Of course, that's very expensive because you need to use it afterward. You have to sorry, silêncio. Strange. Sorry. So it's very expensive to have it stored, but it is very, very, very important to do it. One of the things that we have been most successful in selling to clients in the last few years, it's been data governance projects because of that. The second barrier to this, it is a very old school thing of operations. It is being to write down everything. Every step that you described very well what is your operation. It will not learn from nothing. It needs factual things to learn from. When we started the project 2 years ago with the client, we fed the models around 85,000 hours of conversations. And even so, it failed to explain many processes because we also gave it access to the SharePoints where all the operational instructions were. And we realized that there were many steps that were implicit but not explicit. So whenever you set up a thing like this, you need to write down everything. Explain it, everything. write down procedures as it was code, basically. Basically is that. I'll push the marketing and sales. Supply chain. Okay.
No, just let me ask. Should
Yeah.
we make a break now?
Give me 10 minutes and I'll close this chapter, okay? So, to these 5 most important things to do. Optimize deliveries. And this is a really important issue because if you go to Amazon to do a purchase in some delivery options, it will tell you the hour when you will receive the package in a week time, and usually they get it right, and they don't know if there is traffic or not in that day, but nevertheless, big numbers work. So it is important over here, and this is quite relevant because of usage of resources. So you can try to push, for example, rest moments of the drivers to certain periods of the day that you know that the usage will be less than others. I mean, person to person, no, so not a thing done to everyone in the same way. Standardization of operations, so understand what is really the most efficient way and the most common way things are done, and this is very important. You can, for example, eliminate some options that you have for clients because the marginal benefit of certain standards will work better. Redesigning your entire network to be able to optimize it. We'll go afterwards on one of the models, which is the hub and spoke model. And this is very important to design well a hub and spoke model. Understanding what are the best solutions, also pushing to clients what are some options, consider different types of products, for example, that they are requesting, because there will be better options than others. And last but not least, the inventory optimization. And I don't know if you know how usually Amazon works. So Amazon will not serve you from the closest warehouse where your product is. Amazon will serve you from the warehouse where it is faster to the product to come to you, even if it is in Berlin. It will always do that. So what, of course, they do, they manage the inventory to adjust it as much as possible to the needs. So they don't have to go to Berlin so many times. I'll pass this. So to close it down, important issues over here, and I really have to stress this because, fortunately, in my opinion, we live in a space that there is some preoccupation in terms of regulations, which is good because they exist to protect us, not the other way around. Not like you will see in the news many times said by someone. So understand, and two things. Usually, if you are compliant with GDPR, you should be safe in terms of protecting data. In fact, it's three things. Consider that the your investment in cybersecurity will only grow in time, because it is AI used by everyone. So the good guys and the bad guys, everyone uses AI. So our investment will have to grow if you want to become at least less bad than we are today. And last but not least, it is the thing related to trust accuracy. The most important thing that you need to understand about AI, apart from being expensive, or the second thing, is AI doesn't work like a normal software. So in a normal software, 2 plus 2 is always 4. In AI, it depends. And so because it's a probabilistic model, of course you can feed it, you can train it so that it will get things right as much as possible. But even if it always gets it right, the answer will be slightly different. In the project that I talked to you about a month and a half ago, we moved from GPT 4.0 to 5, because it would be much more efficient, so it would lower the cost. The problem is that most of the training that we had on the models went to the trash bin, because we had to retrain the new model to be able to answer us in the tone that we wanted to. He had the information correct. It was the tone that was different. It was different because the model was different, which is not really surprising, because AI is much more similar to people than it is to software. I know it is really weird to hear this, but it is really like this. AI is much more similar to people than it is to software, to classical software. Okay?